Sellers in this current market seem to be mostly delusional. No matter how bad this market gets, no matter what sales data I show them, including low sales, high inventory, and decreasing prices, still, sellers want to list for much higher than their home is worth, which ends up having them doing two different things. First, they sit on the market at a high price, damaging their listing's reputation for the future when they do get serious about selling. And two, they end up selling later on for less money. Because as the market goes down, if you won't accept today's market value, by the time you are willing to accept what the market is willing to bear, that number has dropped even lower than where you would have sold originally. And I'm going to share with you more about this topic today, right after I ask you to stay up to date on the market by subscribing to this local Greater Vancouver real estate channel. And if you're a fan of real estate prices dropping, well, make sure you go ahead and click the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And of course, if you're having trouble selling in this market, like most people are, don't be one of those people that I'm going to talk about today. Be the one that sells. And you can get that done by booking a call with me right now so we can get the process started for you. Okay, let's talk about it. Almost every single listing appointment I am on right now, well, maybe not just right now. Let's say from about February through May of this year. And then, we saw a little bit of a busy period, but now again in August, the sellers that I am meeting with just absolutely do not want to hear the price of which they need to list at in order to actually get sold. Now, I've been around real estate for a long time now, and I know that sellers wanting too much money for their home is just kind of normal. Agents like me have spent much more time in our career trying to get sellers to a realistic number than we ever did trying to convince buyers in the hot market to overspend by, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in a crazy bidding war. When the market is hot, buyers self-motivate because prices are going up, and the longer they hesitate, the more they'll pay in the future. But when the market is headed down in price, the same motivation to sell for more money now rather than less money later should also kick in, but for sellers. However, it just doesn't. Most sellers do not want to sell for lower than they could have sold for before. And they're often extremely optimistic about how fast the market will turn around. For example, when I meet with a seller, and I give them the bad news about their current values, or at least the bad news is perceived as not as high enough of a price that they would like to sell for, they say one of a couple of things. They usually say either,
"Well, I'll just have to wait for the market to turn around,"
or,
"I think we're going to have to look at renting it out."
But let's analyze those two statements for a moment. What does the market turning around really look like? I think most sellers that say that to me think in their mind that the market is likely going to turn around maybe in as soon as 90 days, or if it's really bad, they'll have to wait until next spring. And they do not appreciate that this market isn't just slow because of the season. We are seeing a downturn in the overall economy, employment, and immigration. And that will likely take years or maybe up to a decade in order to fix, rather than just a few months. So if you're one of those sellers that doesn't like the price that you could get for your home right now, well, I'm here to tell you that you had better get cozy and hunker down. Be prepared to hold on to that property for at least another couple of years, if not up to 5 or more. And that's just to get the market picking up again. It could be 5 or 10 years before we see price recovery. Nobody knows for sure, but let's be honest. There are no signs out there that the market is going to recover in price, and we're still waiting for the bleeding to stop. So the reality is prices are heading down. But of course, you still want to move. So then the other option is to keep your current place and rent it out. Well, let's talk about that. First, rents are also dropping. So you will probably rent out your property for less than what you had hoped to. And two, honestly, as a landlord, the quality of tenant that I am seeing in my market right now is way worse than it was before. Families of 4 to 6 people on government assistance, or I've even seen asylum salary, trying to rent your 2-bedroom condo. And if a situation like that goes bad, it's not like you can just kick out the tenant. A bad tenant could take between 6 and 12 months to get out of the property if they stop paying rent. There are lots of good tenants out there, of course, but there's just a way higher level of much worse tenants now than there was before. You have to now also pay for either the mortgage or the rental on the new home that you're moving to, whether or not it be an upsize or you're moving out of town for a job opportunity. Let's say, for instance, you're moving up the property ladder. How are you going to secure the down payment of your next place if all of the equity is tied up in your old home? I know I can't afford to live in 2 properties and be paying for both of them out of my own pocket. I need that rental income. And if the renter doesn't pay for the old property when I move into a new one, I'm going to be in trouble. But maybe you don't have to use the equity of that home and you're moving to another city where you're going to rent for a while, or you're just looking for a rental yourself. Again, you had better hope that that tenant continues to pay rent and do it on time, or now you're going to have 2 different homes to pay for. And, well, that's double the payments, one for you and your family, and the other one for your tenants, and all of those outstanding bills for that rental, because now you're a landlord. I mean, listen, I am a landlord. I understand the headaches that come with it, and I know right now I'm a realtor saying,
sell right now or else.
But seriously, when you look at these options versus the reality of maybe dropping your asking price 1 to 5% and actually getting your property sold, why would you take on that stress and anxiety rather than coming to grips with the reality of the market and just moving on? Because you have the choice. You can either be right or you can be happy. You can be tied to last year's prices or the year before for X amount, and you're not moving unless you get your price. Or you can cut out $5,000 to $50,000 off of your price and get sold now so you can move on. That is the reality of the market today. And it's not like a lot of these people that we're speaking with are peak buyers. Most of them have owned their homes, or they have been investors and have held these properties for like 10 to 20 years and sometimes more. They have equity, but they also have egos. And often our egos cannot let go of a price that could have been. Now, let me stop crapping on sellers for just a moment, because another reality is that it's very hard for a seller in this market to say,
Okay, you're right. I'll list for less than the last sale when there are no last sales.
the market is so slow this summer, like so slow. Let me give you an example. I'm doing an evaluation the other day, and the last sale was right around about $1 million. The stats showed me and my sellers that the property today, according to average price declines, it should be positioned somewhere around $929,000 to $939,000 in today's market. A very tough pill to swallow, but okay, maybe you can get your head around that as the seller. But hold on, because the market is telling me something else. That was the statistics and last year's market. Now let's look at today's market. Doing some further analysis, I found that many, and I mean many, of the comparable listings on the market today that are available and not sold are listed for $899,000, meaning to achieve a sale, you're likely going to have to list that property that could have got as much as almost $1 million last year, right now for maybe as low as $889 or $879. Don't shoot the messenger. Those are just the numbers. So you get to pick. Do you want to move on, or do you want to stay? Or do you want to become a landlord? Those are your options. The good news is, as a homeowner, you get to pick.